Time for our stock of the day. Frontier Digital Ventures. So the ticker code is FDV. Its shares today continuing to march higher after a very solid third quarter result yesterday. Quarterly revenue surging 248% on the previous year. Earnings more than tripling. The company approaching the cash flow break-even milestone, and it's relatively cashed up to fund future growth. Not only are activity levels rising, but there has been a swing toward online auto and real estate transactions as well. Look at that share price spike. So, are the gains already baked into the price? I'll start with you, Rudi Filapek-Vandyck. Morgans is the only broker that I've seen that covers Frontier Digital Ventures, which is like classified, online classified for property primarily, but in far-flung places like Pakistan.
Yes.
It's headquartered in
Yes.
Malaysia, while it's ASX listed. But its CEO, has pedigree in the space.
Yes, but my main, I wouldn't call it concern, but my main negative with this company remains that on paper it looks all very exciting, and it's all international operations, but each of those operations is actually quite small in their own right. And that means that while in good times, yes, you can report 200 and more % increases, but that can also go really quickly the other way, simply because those operations are quite small. And I would, so for that reason in itself, I would still treat this company with some caution. I mean, small cap stocks, they can swing around a lot, and if you would take a longer-term view on the price chart, you will see that volatility is not just a word; it's something that pops up in that share price every once in a while. I mean, of course, after a market update like today, everyone can get quite excited about it, and you see that in the share price. But medium to longer term, I still have my question marks around here, simply because this is still a relatively young business. So I would, and also in a macro perspective, I can't help but think that we will get a period when we will get a lot of more volatility going on at some stage again, and volatility for small cap stocks can mean that the share price can actually fall quite a lot in the short term. So I mean, it's okay the way things are going today, but my preference lies with larger sized businesses with a longer term track record. I would here not chase the stock.
Thank you. Would you look to invest in an REA or a domain?
Yes, not in domain. REA, yes. Car sales, yes. Seek, yes.
Car sales was out with an update as well today.
Yes,
I haven't checked on its share price.
And the share price is down a little bit, I think. But I mean, the underlying forecast is for strong growth. And when a company like car sales says we expect strong growth, you can take that as a very positive. And the share price is not looking cheap.
Not looking cheap, $24.97,
yes,
down by 2%
yes.
on the back of that result. But we digress, that's car sales. Let's get back to Frontier Digital Ventures. Claude, is Rudi just being overly cautious? I mean, this is a company that is making some moves in, yes, smaller markets, but markets where you are seeing, a demographic shift, you could say. And, you can't avoid all small caps, so I guess you could, but is Rudi likely to miss out on growth?
I mean, through his aversion to small caps generally, I'm sure he will miss out on some few winners, but I guess that's part of his strategy, because he also reduces risk doing that, so that's totally legitimate. When it comes to actually Frontier developments, I guess I could add a few little different perspectives from what Rudi has said. So I think the first thing we've got to remember is that even though I guess Frontier Developments is a reasonably young business, some of the companies that it actually owns shares in are actually it owns part of, are actually quite old. Like, for example, it owns 37% of a company called Packwheels, which according to, Packwheels' own website was founded in 2003. So to me, you would have expected these kind of businesses to be pretty mature already. Some of them, like I checked out in preparation for this, I checked out a bunch of the sites, and there's plenty of products they have or companies they're invested in. It's all online classifieds, right? But they're online classifieds websites in overseas, and many of them have existed for 10 years already. And as a cumulative exercise, their businesses are only just sort of approaching break even. And I guess that was the news today that was positive, is that the company continues to, build towards being EBITDA profitable, and also that in a lot of those jurisdictions where its operating businesses are, there has been a bit of a downturn due to COVID, and now that we're coming out of that. So there's reason for optimism. Having said that, from memory, these guys have a market capitalization of around $570 million. And you've got, in order to justify that, various businesses all around the world that are in this classified space. And I think there's something really important for Australian investors to remember, which is that Australia is unusual in that it has car sales, REA Group, and Seek that are such roaring successes. It just so happens in Australia that our big online classifieds companies really did get a stranglehold on the market, each of them, which is why Rudi there is, I imagine, looking to go for the number one player in this space, because that's the one that's going to have the best economics. And it hasn't always worked out like that in different markets, in different countries. So I think that probably a lot of the investor excitement about frontier developments is that you can just get one or two of these amazing businesses in there, and maybe that would justify their price, and maybe that would, and maybe that is actually going to be the ultimate outcome for this company. So I wouldn't discard it completely, but I also think that I guess the cynic in me thinks that perhaps the valuation will be a bit high on the ASX as a result of the success of these other companies.
Okay. So this is not one that you would be investing in today?
I think it's one that you could consider if the share price got really smashed out and down, but this has been a bit of a favorite of various different people, just because there is an exciting blue sky story, and as a result of that, it's just probably too high priced for me.